Hi everybody, this is Joseph from Jouleconcepts. In this tutorial we're going to learn how to use the Polygon Pen tool extensively, and if you stick around to the end of the tutorial we're going to see how we can apply that in creating some hard surface modeling tips and all that. So without further ado, I would want you to please let's get into the tutorial. So you can see that I already have my plane geometry and just subdivided it, just changed this and converted it to editable format. So we are here right now. We can't do anything to this plane, like I always say, like I've always been saying, we cannot do anything to this plane until we come to this 3 mode or component mode. These are subcomponent mode that will allow us to manipulate points, edges and faces of this object. So right now I can't do anything until I click on any of these. So I kind of emphasize that, so I'll keep saying that. So now for us to go to the Polygon Pen tool, there are 3 ways we can get there. The first method is right clicking on the screen. So far you are in any of this mode. If you are in your model mode, if you right click you won't see it, so you have to be in any of this mode. So as I right click, I have all this. So you can see the Polygon Pen tool here, and it has a shortcut. So that shortcut is the second method. Just hit ME, it gives you the Polygon Pen tool. So the third method is going to your mesh, then go to create tools, then you're going to see the polygon tool rather. So those are the 3 ways you can get this tool and work with. So alright, so for us to use Polygon Pen tool, you can either use it on an empty space without selecting any object. So in this case, if you don't select any object while you have this, don't forget I said right now you cannot bring this if nothing is selected, and even if an object is selected, you are not in any of this mode, you won't see it. So that brings us to this method by coming to this mesh creation, then you have a Polygon Pen. So that is the only way you can bring it out even while not having anything selected. Alright, or you can hit your ME, the same thing. Alright, so if you don't have any objects selected, how does it work? So basically all you do is just click on an empty space. As soon as you click, it's going to create a polygon object for you. So what I'm doing is just to create, and once I get to the last point I double click, and that will give me a polygon. That's going to give me a polygon. Then I can continue because it's in continue mode. So come here, gives me another polygon. So let's assume I want this to be here. Click, it continues giving me this polygon until I'm okay. Once I'm done, I'll hit escape on my keyboard. So this is how you can create using Polygon Pen tool. So where is the area of application of this? That can be applied maybe when you want to create your own typology. You want your own, maybe let's assume you have a text object and you don't want to use any of these. You want to create your own model of that object so that you can extrude it how you want. So you can just trace over it to create your mesh. And the thing also is that you can change the position of this. Just click on the point, move it, you can reposition this object. So I'm still in my Polygon Pen tool, so you can reposition this object and to suit whatever you want. So another thing with it is I'm trying to go fast and to tell you the basic things first before I go into this object and try and see an area of application of it. And you can create a point, you can add a point here. Basically Polygon Pen does everything. Is like a universal tool. It does basically everything, almost everything that other modeling tools do. So if you double click on this edge and you hit escape, it creates a point there. Notice that double click, it creates a point. And if you want to join this point, just come to this first point, click, and that is how you can get that. So other thing you can do is that if you like I said, you can move this. You can also do that on you can move points, you can also move edges. So you can move an edge to whatever you want the edge to be. Alright, so other thing is that in any of the mode you are, that's one advantage of Polygon Pen. Any mode, whatsoever you are, you can still access every other mode. You can notice I'm in my polygon mode, but still I can still access my points, I can still access my edge, and I can access my polygon. So that is a very good one and an advantage for it. So we've talked about adding points by double clicking. Then you can, if you hold down shift, you can also create a point. So it's not double clicking now, so just hold down shift. This gives you a preview of where the point is going to be. So if I click here, I add a point there. You can see the point here. So if I go to the point mode, you have that. So if I hold down shift, click on the first point, you have that. So how do I do in such a way that I'm going to connect? So let's assume I want to create a point between here and here. How do I do that? You hold down your shift, you double click, then you create a line, you create a point and gives you this line. Then you go to the next point where you want it to be, still have your shift held down, double click, you create a point and joins them together. So that is there. Then you can also use it to extrude. So for those of us that are new here, I have a tutorial on extrude. You can just see it at the top corner there, and you can go and see an extensive tutorial about it. So for you to use Polygon Pen to extrude, all you need to do is just hold down your control key. Notice what happens. My mouse will change from this to this box. Then if I click and drag up or down, it creates the extrusion. So if I do that here, hold down control, click and drag, it creates extrusion parallel to that surface. Alright, so that is there. Now there is now one very great tool, one very nice tool that it has. So let's assume I want to have a curve here. I can also convert this line to curve. And how does that work? Hold down your control, then still while your control is held down, hold down shift, then move your mouse. Once you move your mouse, you're going to see hold on, let me, a value has changed there, so let me go back to the default. I think that's the default. If I right click, that's the default value, and subdivision, let me take this to 2. So if I hold down control and shift, notice what happens. I have this curve that can allow me create. So right now I'm in semicircle mode, and the reason why I'm having this full semicircle is because of this semicircle that I have checked. If I uncheck this, it will allow me have a dynamic movement of the curve, how I want the curve to go. So if I don't want the curve to be full semicircle, maybe up onto this place, I can do that. So I have my control and shift held down. So let's assume this is where I want the curve to end. I will click, then I have that curve. Notice instead of me having curve, I'm having this point. The reason why I have this point is because my subdivision, arc subdivision is 2. So it's giving me 2 subdivisions. So let me do the same thing here and dynamically change the value of my subdivision. So if I hold down control and shift, bring this here. If I click my left mouse, don't let go, then move your mouse sideways. So as you are moving, notice what is happening now is increasing the subdivision. So you would want to increase it up onto where you want it to go. So if I want to reduce, I want to increase. So now I have 3 buttons held down. I have my control, my shift, and my left hand button mouse. Then I'm moving the mouse sideways to either increase or reduce. If I move it to the right, it increases. If I move it to the left, it reduces. So let's assume this is my this subdivision that I want, 8 subdivisions. Then I will let go of my mouse first before this. So you notice what we have here. We have a more defined curve here compared to this because of the subdivision that we have. So where can this be used? We'll get there very soon. So this is just to let you know that when you have a curve, you want to have a curved surface, you can use that. Now let's look at some of these informations here. You have the different mode. So this is point mode. Now this point mode doesn't have effects because of this tweaking mode. The tweaking mode gives us full mode. That's why we can go to any of this mode, either edge, point, or polygon. But we can from here change it. So it's going to change the universal mode. So if I change this to point mode, then I will not be able to go to my edge or my polygon. The only thing I can select is my point. I hope that makes sense. So if I change this to my edge, notice I can't select points. Instead, what I can select are edges. So I can only select this edge and I continue with that. So I hope we understand that. So polygon also document mode. I've not really used document mode, so I don't really know what this does. So document still allows you to select points, but you can't select edge and stuff. Okay, this document mode, I think it changes anytime you change this. Oh, I think not. Sorry about that. So but like I said, I have not really used this, but I've used all of these. So if I go back to my full mode, then this goes regardless of any of these options. All right, so let's look at this. I have my quad strip mode. This quad strip, I don't really know what it does. If I have anyone who knows, please tell me. But for this weld, by default you have auto weld. What auto weld does is that if I am to subdivide this now, let me subdivide this. Okay, let me try and create a, let me try and close this polygon here. If you know, for me to do that, if I hold down shift, let's have it on weld. If I hold down shift, oh sorry, control, and drag this edge here, notice what happens. I can just move it wherever I want and I have that edge. Fine. Now this is not allowing me to snap, to weld, or anything, so that's why I'm having that. But as soon as I have my, let me move this sideways, as soon as I have my auto weld and I do the same thing, notice what happens. It snaps. It's going to snap to the edge. Notice it snaps to the edge, and if I let go of my mouse, what will happen now is that it has welded this together. This is now one geometry, so it welds them together, and this is 1 point, not 2 points. That is what this auto weld does. Then the next one is the project result. Now this project result can be used for retopologizing, if my word is correct, an object. So let's assume you have a sculpted object. I have an object that I brought from my content browser. I have a sculpted object and you want to trace out a part of the surface. So let's assume I want to trace out, I want to create a mask for it, but just trace out this part of this mask. I can use project result. So this project result doesn't really work unless you have your snap object on. So right now I must enable my snap for it to work, and I must also select what I want to snap to. Maybe I want to snap from vertex to vertex, or from point to point, and edges polygon. So what I usually do is I have everything selected, all these 3 component mode. Then what I do is just create and move to the next point. So click, 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 double click. Okay, sorry, I have already created something. Click, 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 and double click to have that. So what happens now if I escape? What happens now is that's created this geometry on that surface. It's projected it on the surface. So for me to finish up, I can just hold down my control and start extruding that edge, so I can extrude this here. And the thing with this is you can still manipulate the points, so the points can snap to those points also. So you can already see the power of this and its functionality. And once that is done, hold down Control, snap this first, then snap the points to this. But really the point is the most accurate and precise tool, because you can actually snap to that point that you're looking for. But for edge and polygon, I still find it hard to snap, so it still snaps to edges behind and all that. So what I usually do is, after creating all these things, after creating all these, I snap those points to wherever I want them to snap to, and I'm good. So if I come here, click and come to this place, so that is snapped already. So click. So I'm going to just stop here, since you get the idea, so I don't waste time creating all these things here. So if I hide my shape, I'm going to fast forward this and try and create this so you can see. So from now I'm going to fast forward. Alright, so I am here. So if I hide this, you can see I've already made a half of the mask, and this is very, I don't know, this is so much good, and this makes modeling a lot more easier. So if I throw this into a symmetry object, it creates the other half for me, and I have this object that I've created. I have half of this object created. So that is there. That is the function of this project. So I'm going to hide that. Okay, so I'm taking that off and create coplanar. No, I don't really know that. And semi, you already know the function of the semi, so I'm going to get rid of my snap mode, so I can now come to this object and work on this object. You already know the function of the semicircle, so if I hit my ME on the keyboard, so I go to the Polygon Pen tool, you know what the semicircle does. Right now, if I click, hold down Control and Shift, see how the curve goes. I can go dynamically, but if I select semicircle, hold down Control, it only allows me to create. Notice it snaps to exactly the diameter of that semicircle, so I cannot, this is the only thing I can do. Right, so if I click and shift to the left or to the right, you know what that does. So that changes that value. So let's look at this value, the direction value. There is something about this. The thing with it is that this it can allow me create this semicircle. Either it will allow me create this curve either on the plane or perpendicular to the plane, and we can change that. That can be changed based on this value. So if I reduce this value to 0 and I come here, hold down Control and Shift, see what happens. It takes it perpendicular. Now the reason why I'm having this perpendicularity is because of this semicircle. So if I get rid of that, so you can see, hold down my Control, so I can, see what happens. So I can create how I want the curve to go. And the thing with this is that it's going to create, like, if I click, it's going to create like a blend in between this surface and the altitude of that semicircle. So that can be used to create your terrain and irregular shaped objects. So objects that are dense, that have a regular shaped surface, you can use that. So that is just to let you know that that is there. Now this will change only, this will be visible only when we change this point to polygon. Then it allows you to set the radius of this polygon pen tool. So that's just it. So let's look at an area of application of this and see what we can do with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, let's assume you want to create a curve. You want to create an opening that has a curve. You can use this Polygon Pen tool. Maybe let's go to any other mode. Hold down Ctrl and Shift. So that means I need to change, because I need it to be on the surface. I need to change this to maybe 1. So just basically the value is just to change between 1 and 0. So if and also I want it to be semicircle, then I'll click, hold down my mouse. What I want is, I need 3 points or 4 points. I think 4 points, 3 points is okay, but I don't want too much. Let's use 2 for instance. So we have this 2. Now this looks so not semicircle, but by the time we add it into a subdivision surface, we are going to have that shape. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Hold down Ctrl Shift, bring it here, click and drag until I have that same 2. Release. So we have that. So what I'm going to do again is, let's say for instance I'm going to select, now I'm not using the Polygon Pen now. I am going to just use my normal selection tool and select this surface here, or I can just use this, sorry. Select these all points, then move them up. I think that would do. So for me to bring this down, so what we can do is before we start any extrusion, what I usually do is I usually add supporting edge to any object that I want to extrude, so that anytime I want to do anything to that edge, I can do other things. So I will go to my polygon mode, go to this live selection, select this, then I for inner extrude to add like 2 supporting edges to it. So once I have this added, then I can extrude this downwards. So if I extrude this downwards, let's say up onto here, I can also rotate this extrusion such that I'm just trying to create something different, so such that we have this flushing down here. So once I'm done with that, the next thing is, if I add this into a subdivision surface, I'm going to have this issue NA to show. I'm going to have this issue, this problem. Though I have the curve, but I have a problem here. The geometry is not really cool, so I need to solve that issue. So if I go back, Q to get rid of that, then what I need to do is, the reason why I'm having that is because this point I'm having more than 4 edges, so I need to resolve that issue. So if I come to this place first, go to my Polygon Pen tool, hold down Shift, or just click here, then come to this place, double click, I have that, escape, do the same thing here, click, double click, I have that, escape. Now if I'm to activate my subdivision surface, this place won't really have any problem anymore. Notice that I don't have any issue, but I still have the issue here because I have not created that object. So Q to get rid of that. So that's the first set of problem we are going to have. So if I use KL, or I can just still use my ME. So this time I'm going to select this, go to the top, double click. No, that's not what I intended doing. Double click, just follow the flow, double click, then double click, escape. I have that. So I'll do the same thing here, click, double click, so I follow the flow, double click, then get up to this place, double click. So if we check this now, notice that stuff is gone. Alright, so the next thing we want is, this is optional, this is individual preference. So if for instance I want to have this information, what I have, if you notice everything just goes, we don't see this, the detail is gone. So if we want the detail, what we can do is we can select the edge, UL for loop selection. I can select this edge and select the inner edge here, shift and select. So once we have this selected, we can go to bevel mode. By the way, I have a tutorial about bevel. MS is the shortcut. I have an extensive tutorial about it, so you can check it. So if I hit bevel mode, I can click and create a bevel for that edge. So now I've created an edge that are close, so I'm going to have a more defined object. So if I hit Q on my keyboard now, you see the definition of this object here. So this is now more defined. So now the reason why I'm having all these artifacts is because my subdivision is low. If I increase this to 3, I'm going to have this information solved. So that is the first thing with that. So you can actually use this Polygon Pen to create that. So let's assume you want to create a cut, a circular cut. How do you do that? For you to create a circular cut, what you would need to do, what I do is go to spline to this end-sided spline, then I would want 8 for instance, then bring it to the XZ so it lies flat on the floor. Then I can scale this down. So if I hit my NB on my keyboard, then I'm going to have these wires. Then I want to get rid of this first so that I can see whatever I'm working on. So NB will work on scale this down even much more. Alright, so let's see where we can add that. So let's assume we want to add something here. So I can move this object. Sorry. So I can just go to axis snap, then I can move this to snap to this axis here. Alright, then I can get rid of that. So once I have this snap, now the reason why I'm having this is because I want to snap to some of these points for me to create a perfect circle. So it depends actually. If you don't want 8 points, if you want 6 points, it will still give you a perfect circle. So if you don't want to work with so much geometry, you can just reduce these points, or by the time you move into the subdivision surface, it gets you a point. So the reason why we're having this is just to trace out. So now we have a rough idea of where we want this. We already have our line along this edge. We need a line here and a line going this way. So I'm going to use my KL for loop cut, then go to this mode, then I can go to any of this mode. Just try and roughly create something like that here. Also create one here, create one here, and create another one here. So we have that. So I can get rid of this edge because I don't really need it anymore, or not. Okay, so you can use your ME for pen to snap these things to point. So if I use my snap tool now, make sure all these things are there. So if I click on this, I can snap to that point. I can this is already okay, so I can snap this to this point. Now I need to move this, snap it to that point. Then also this is meant to snap here, snap to this edge, snap this here. Then I can just zoom into this place here. I could just move this here. Alright, so once I'm done with this, I can get rid of this end-sided. I don't need it anymore. So I can just subdivide that, or I can extrude. So I can get rid of this snap, go to this mode, select this surface. So once I have this surface selected, inner extrude to create a supporting edge. Move this in a little bit, then D to extrude this inwards. Once I'm done extruding this, I can delete that point. So if we open this now, see what we have. We have a curve, but this doesn't look so rounded now. So what we can do to resolve this is to try and select UL to select this edge here. So it's just to try and select this edge. We don't really need this selection. Control and deselect that. So we can move this up a little bit. You can do the same thing here. Select, shift and to select more objects, shift select, then move this out a little bit just to try and create the curve. So if we check this now, we're going to see a more rounded shape, so don't mind that. So but that's how you create NA to bring out this. So that's how you create a cut, a round cut, and also that. So I hope this was helpful, and we've gone from using Polygon Pen to creating some hard surface modeling and creating some complex shape which would normally be hard for us to create. So if this was helpful, please give it a thumbs up and like it, share it. You don't know who might need this. And if you are new to this channel, please do subscribe, and thank you and God bless you. Do have a wonderful day. Bye.